I had a question about some writings,
Okay.
if maybe somebody can help me. Like this particular section of writing, like honestly, I'm just a reader that likes reading writings that are right,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But like I don't want to read a writing that's wrong
Right.
or whatever. So like, well, I guess my question is about: do you think these writings? Is there any way of knowing if these writings were wrote by a writer that was right when he wrote them for a reader that wants to read a writing that's right? Like I just don't want to read a writing that's wrong, like from a
Right.
writer. Because if you're reading a writing that was wrote by a writer that was wrong when he wrote it for the reader to read, then I mean,
Mm-hmm.
then we're all going to be wrong. So that's where
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of confused about these particular writings. Like, is there any way that we would know if these were right?
No.
Huh?
No.
I mean, well, I mean, do you think they'd be like? I mean, how sure can we be that these are right? Because I was looking at some of them, but I still just don't feel like. I mean, how do we know if they're right? Do you know what I mean? Like when a reader's going to read a writing, you know, he's hoping that the writer was right when he wrote it for the reader to read and be right when he reads it. But I think that's just kind of where my worry is. I mean, can you kind of relate?
Maybe a little.
Yeah, I mean, because Charles Stanley and stuff, I've heard a lot about that writer. And as far as I know, most of what he wrote was right. But it's just kind of, that's where my biggest concern is, just that I don't want to read a writing that was wrong, or, read a writing from a writer that was wrong when he wrote it for the reader to read, just because I don't want to be wrong when I read it. I want to read a writing that was wrote by a writer that was right when he wrote it for the reader to read. Yeah.
I honestly don't have an answer for you.
Oh, okay.
Two writers that I know.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Batterson's I've actually met him and talked with him.
Oh, have you really?
He's a pastor in Washington D.C.
Mm-hmm.
and he is a big church there. And he came down to Liberty for a weekend, and so
Wow.
I got to meet with him. and
Really?
talk with him. And then C.S. Lewis is very good on
Mm-hmm.
writing fiction that tells a story, but also
Mm.
has a meaning behind it.
Mm.
And so
Now, when you
C.S.
say
Lewis-
fiction, it doesn't sound right.
well, this is a fiction book. That
Oh,
tells
okay.
A story,
So it's
but
fiction, but it's
it
right.
has a theme
Okay.
to it that has a great.
So even though
message
it's
to it.
fiction, it would be right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the writer that you just told me about a minute ago.
Mark Batterson?
Yeah. Do you think he was right? I mean, like, did he seem like he was right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, probably all of his writings would be wrote by a writer that was right when he wrote it for the reader to read, and therefore the reader could be right when he reads it.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you. Is there any certain section that you would say would be wrong that maybe I want to steer clear from?
No.
Okay. All right. Thank you.